Risk management is key. Ladies and gentlemen, fellow traders, welcome to the live show on this Tuesday, the 23rd of September, 2025. Where's the year gone? What happened? It went by so fast. Quite incredible, really. For those of you who don't know, don't forget, trading is risky. And if you don't like risk, you probably shouldn't be trading. Good to see you all again. Welcome back. And let's have a nice day and let's chat about trading as usual. Yeah, unfortunately, the Brent crude oil trade not working out too well, and the United States dollar South African rand not working out too well. Those trades are going to be there forever. I was looking at the Euro United States dollar earlier, thinking, oh, what a lovely trade that's going to be. And now we've got this green candle developing on the side here. I was hoping for it to break through there and give us the short trade. So we'll wait for that one and we'll see what happens. Morning, Pathers the man. Good morning. Nice sunshine there behind you. And NT, good morning. How's it? Shane, always around. Good to see you, Shane. Good evening. Yeah, it's kind of morning for me. Well, it's late morning, close to lunchtime. And I do the Thursday one in the afternoon for me so that I can catch those people that are in the morning. But yeah, got to catch everyone around the world as much as you possibly can. Oh, gold is moving up. Yes, did you notice what happened with gold? It actually broke through its support, started to curve around, broke through its support, almost looked like it was going to retest and go. And instead of doing that, broke back into its level and decided to head on up. So gold is very bullish at the moment. But what's really interesting this week is how the US 500 is hitting all-time highs and going up. I called 6,600 at the beginning of the year, thinking, well, it'll do 6,600, and if we're really lucky, it'll do 7,000. But it's hitting 6,700 already. But like I said to you guys last week, my main concern for all of these indexes and the US 500 is this constant, everybody just keeps buying with a view to it's just going to keep on going up. And I kind of remember as well with the last Trump administration in the US 500 was doing a very similar thing. People just kept on buying with a view to it's never going to go down. Nothing's ever going to change. And everybody's very confident. And for those that have never seen a big correction, it becomes quite a surprise when there is a rather big correction. So I'm just looking at that and thinking, what are we going to see next? But it's lovely. While you can keep on buying and it can keep on going up, isn't that always nice? Because you can watch your money growing, just as long as you don't need to watch your money shrinking. That's the important part. Just looking at this chart on the DAX, and that is also following the S&P 500 and kind of going up really nicely. Look at that. It's just following it up. Nice little bullish move, bounced off the support and just moving up. Also doing very well. And a lot of things that are one of the big things that are holding the S&P 500 up is this big NASDAQ chart straight up. I'm surprised it's not a full-on lamp pole, but it's very, very bullish. Just keeps on going up. And the main shares are pulling it up. You know, your Nvidias and things like that are just pulling this up all the way to the top. The interesting one was, of course, the crypto. Bitcoin took a big knock over the weekend, and so did Ethereum. And it came all the way down to its major support levels. It seems to be stabilizing here and turning around. So there was quite a lot of talk around crypto over the weekend. I'm just going to reload this because it looks like the servers on this particular platform do tend to give a little bit of a headache from time to time. I don't think gold's so tricky, Shane. I think gold is actually quite straightforward. The trick to gold is we used to have a guy in South Africa. I don't know if I'm allowed to name his name, but I'll name his name. His name was Clive Roffey, and I would actually watch him on a show. He was a bit older than me, and he would sit there for many years and say, gold is going up, gold, just buy gold, and all he ever talked about was gold. Gold was his big go-to. And I felt sorry for the man because gold mines and gold just never seemed to go anywhere. It was always sick. It just stayed where it was and it never went up, while everything else was shooting the lights out and just going up. In fact, it wasn't that long ago, maybe 10 years ago or whatever the case. And I kept watching this poor bloke talk about every week, now he's buying gold, buying gold, buying gold. And I thought, yeah, this guy's never going to see the light of day. But I'll think about him now, because if he was still buying all that gold, now he's probably in the pound seats and laughing and having a good time of it. So good for him. But yeah, it took a while for gold to do any move or to make any movement in the market. And at the moment, it's very bullish, and it's got this very bullish connotation to it with it moving up, which is actually quite surprising, because we always knew gold as a safe haven trade, a trade that you could take and know that if you traded gold and the S&P was going down, or the DAX or whatever the case, that gold would be your safe haven. It would be a commodity that you could buy into, you could hold gold. And when all the currencies fall away, gold would still be there. And that was what gold was for. But now it's actually moving with the indexes very strongly, which is kind of strange, but it is what it is. It does do that. And it's also pegged against the dollar, which makes a difference as well. So, bear in mind, if the dollar changes trajectory, let's just have a quick look at the dollar. I'm just going to go over to the dollar section. I've got the dollar on here. And what I noticed about the Dixie, the dollar, which is quite important, is this double bottom that's developed down here. Look at that. There's a bottom there and a bottom there. So we've developed a double bottom. The 50-day moving average is turning around slowly. Now, we don't use indicators, but on my investments, I like to use a 50-day and a 200-day moving average just to give me a big picture of what's happening in the world. And this sort of just gives me a big picture on this. Because this is on the day chart, you could put it on the weekly as well. But I see a double bottom developing on the Dixie. So I don't think it's going to continue on down, although it could. But it looks like this is curving around. There's a good chance that the dollar could start moving back up again. And if that starts to happen, just out of interest, here's the VIX, guys. The VIX is doing its usual, staying along on this straight line. And yeah, definitely worth the buy. But yeah, the Dixie, like I say, it's developing this double bottom, which is quite interesting. This is just a little bit of the news, but not much to talk about there right now. So yeah, if the dollar does decide to find its way back home, then there's a good chance that all of this is going to turn around, including the US 500, including gold, even oil, and even this, well, the United States dollar, South African rand, of course, because the South African rand's definitely not going to get much stronger, that's for sure. Shane's had his first ads. How's it, Henny? Lucky to have you back. Lovely. Barney, hello. How's it? Some good old regulars back on the show here. Luigi, how's it? Good to see you back. And lovely to have you guys on board. It's happy hour for Shane. So, we haven't reached the stage in technology yet where you can pass your beers through the screen, but maybe one day we'll get to that. I'll have coffee. Still morning here, but there is no opening time. Let's be fair. I mean, if there was an opening time, you you can just go and have a beer if you want to. The UK 100 is in the middle, Cyril. Not doing much. Hi, Val. Good to see you again. All the regulars are coming back. It's fantastic. So the A team is here, and we can talk about a few things. And one thing I wanted to emphasize big time, which I've been emphasizing on all the videos, I've been emphasizing it for a really long time, is that you have to concentrate on your risk management. You have to concentrate all of your efforts on the risk and the possibilities of losing so that you can win. It's really, really important to manage the risk. If you manage the risk, you stay in the game. And if you manage the risk correctly, then you can make more on the wins and lose less on the losses. And it's so important. I know that a lot of people don't want to manage the risk. They don't even want to talk about the risk. But when you understand very clearly that you can't time the market, then you start to realize that if you can't time the market, then how can you possibly make a profit in the market without investing? Now, I tell you what, if I was 25, I'd do it all over again. I'd just take every cent that I've got and just invest it. It would be, I would have like 40 years of investments just lying around, and it would be great. But no, I got much less years on that because I didn't want to believe it when somebody said to me, "Rob, you can't time the market. It's time in the market." That's an old saying in the market, but nobody believes it. But when you figure out that time in the market and timing the market is two different things and you can't time the market, then you realize that you're trading, you can't time the market, then how can I possibly have a win rate? How can I possibly make money with charts? This is where the question starts to arise. People start to think, but yeah, you know, that's actually quite important. If I can't time the market, then what are all these lines for? Why am I drawing all these lines in here if I can't possibly time the market? And the main reason for that, and this is where price action actually comes in rather than indicators, is I'm not really trying to predict the market. What I'm trying to do is manage my trade. In other words, firstly, I am trying to, in a way, time the market, and I am trying to, in a way, take a trade that I feel confident with, that I feel that I've done the right thing, and it's going to give me a positive note in my fear receptors and brain that I'm on the right track with the trade. But in all fairness, what I'm really trying to do is manage the risk and manage the trade in such a way that I can see which way it's going, and I can make sure that I'm not just throwing money at the wind and it's just going to go down the loo at the end of the day, that I've got some kind of risk management in place, controlling the trade and controlling the trade properly. That's so important. And a lot of people look past that. You think you're taking a trade because you're predicting the future. You think you're actually predicting the next move on the market, but actually you're not. What you're doing is you're getting into a trade. That's the easy part. Well, it's actually more difficult than you think, but what you need to do is you need to get into a trade, and then once you're in that trade, then manage it into a winning position. That's what you're trying to do at the end of the day. And the reason you do draw the lines in is obviously you don't want to take a trade which is completely insane. That's going to just go against you. That doesn't make any sense either, does it? So there is some, form of prediction in your mind that, you're looking at. But what that comes from is human beings are creatures of habit. So what we tend to do is we tend to look back and see what we did before and hope that it's going to happen again in the future. You've got to keep in mind that when you look at a chart, it's not about what's going to do next, how's it going to work next, what have you. It's about look at your risk and see at what area is it safe to put a risk where I don't think my stop loss should get taken out. I don't think the trade's going to reach that point. And if it does, then I'm completely wrong. That's what you're looking at, and that's what you're looking for in your trade. To take profit is easy. There you just got to look for an area on the chart that says, if it gets there, it's great. That's what you're looking for. And can it reach that? And can it make more than what you've got in the red side? Basically. That's a spike. That's not really that important. What you're looking for is above that high over there. And that's how you look at trading. Look at it from a management perspective rather than a timing perspective. If you look at investment portfolios, say, and you go to an investment bank and you say, invest my money for me, take my money, just take it all and invest it, just do whatever, and you sign it over, trusting them wholeheartedly with all your money. Lots of people do that, so you might have done it as well. And the guy says to you, well, we can tell you we're going to make you 15% per annum, which they never do, but then they have some small print there that says, well, we didn't actually say that you can get 15% per annum. What we said is we might make that, but what we actually make is 2%. But yeah, here you go. There's your investment. And then they invest all your money for you. And what they're doing is they're not timing the market. They're just managing your money. All they're doing is putting it into investments and managing it. And effectively taking a cut off the top for doing that, but it's not that much work because they just put the money in and hope for the best and manage the money. How's it, Mario? Good to see you from Italy. Good to have you back on board. Absolutely marvelous. So for those of you who think that trading is timing the market, for those of you who think that you can time the market, I got really bad news for you, and that is you can't. Nobody can. Everybody can put a system in place which manages trades. Everybody uses a bit of historical data to take a trade. You know what I've noticed a lot of traders doing? A lot of traders are doing what I refer to as the breakout strategy. Where is the breakout strategy? Difficult to, but generally the open range breakout strategy scenario where you have that opening candle, and if it moves above it, you buy, and if it moves below it, you sell scenario. And effectively, that's not really a system. It's effectively someone drawing a line in the sand and saying, because this has happened a few times before, this is how we're going to trade. We're going to trade that if it breaks above that price, we're going to go long, and if it breaks below that price, we're going to go short, and if it does this little bit of a bounce up and down, then we're going to do X, Y, and Z. We find a lot of people are doing that at the moment, which is a very kind of, neither here nor there strategy, but what it does is it gets them into a trade, and we all know that trading's 50-50. And if the possibilities are there, then, if you look back and you say, in the last 30 days, effectively every time it was above the opening range breakout candle, it went up. Let's say it went up 70% of the time in the last 30 days. So then you're looking at that and thinking, well, the odds are on that if every time it goes above that candle, we take a long trade, it's going to go up. And that's how people are looking at trading. So that kind of puts to bed things like big complicated systems like the Ichimoku and other strategies out there, moving average crossovers and all that. Because now somebody's coming along and saying, well, if you just look at this candle and you just trade above it, everything's going to go in your favor. And that just clarifies what I've been saying all along, is that you don't need anything on the charts. The charts are 50-50. If the chart was completely blank and you just took a trade, you'd have the same result. It just clarifies that. All people are doing is looking for some kind of hint that it's going to go in their favor. So the most important thing is just to manage the risk. Just risk management is so important. Let's say you had gone short on this gold trade, and you had gone short too early. You didn't wait for the next candle to open red or go red or close red, and it goes against you. Okay. And you might have actually taken this trade anyway short because it was a red candle closed, and it goes against you. As long as you've put your stop loss there, you're still in the game. And that's one trade lost. But then the next trade, you might win. For example, then you take the United States Canadian dollar and you go long on the retest and you've got a nice profit. And then your stop loss would have been down here. So if you put your stop losses in place, you've got the opportunity to make money. It's not impossible. It's not difficult. It's very, very important to manage your risk, no matter what you're trading, by the way. Interesting how Bitcoin actually came down on the weekend, and that big red candle, that's on the 4-hour chart. It's actually quite amazing, eh? Quite a big one, all the way down. Hit that support, hit that money, and now it's trying to bounce out of that and go up. It's actually trying to go up now and move in a northerly direction. Will it? It's quite complicated because there seems to be some news surrounding it. Now it's kind of broken below that little range there, and it's come down into this major support level. This major support level is a daily support level. And if it breaks through that, I mean, look at the support level below it. There's another one down here. So what I'm looking at here with this green line is if it breaks above that, then it's going past the prior highs, and it's going through another kind of resistance. But it's going into this main support level here, and it needs to break through that money. Then in all likelihood, probably break through the main support as well, because there's a main support down the bottom here. The crypto is doing a funny thing at the moment. It's actually doing a very funny thing at the moment. Doing an interesting move. You're better off putting all your money in the S&P ETF and let it run for 20 years. Hello, Maru. Vol, whether you put it in the S&P or whether you put it into a bunch of shares, pretty much the same thing if you choose blue chip shares or decent shares. I do have an S&P ETF investment. So disclaimer there that I do have that. But I prefer the share investments in the long run because I get better control over them, and my dividend payments are controlled, and I like it. I prefer it for myself. But yeah, nothing wrong with an S&P 500 20-year investment. You'll be surprised the difference in profit between 20 years and 30 years on an investment. It's insane. It just quadruples. So if you keep it for just a little bit longer than 20 years, it's quite incredible. But if you're in your 20s or 30s, really you should seriously be thinking about just buy into shares and just leave the money there and just keep on investing. And you'll go through a couple of periods where there'll be corrections and crashes in the market. There'll be a few times where it really dips off and you'll panic, but don't. Just leave it. It'll be fine. It always comes back, and it always makes you much more than what you started. You're not going to be able to time it. You're not going to be able to say, well, when it does that, I'm going to get out. Because when you get out, it's not a crash, it's not a big correction, and then it turns around and goes up and leaves you behind. So what I say with investments is set and forget. Just buy them and forget about them. What you've got to watch out for on individual shares is if something's happening to the individual company. So just keep one eye on that. If one of your companies is faltering for some other unknown serious reason, like the CEO has been arrested for fraud or some insane thing like that, or the company does appear to be going bankrupt, then you've got to keep your eye on that, clearly. Otherwise, you're going to get into trouble. So watch out on your investments on that front. But trading is more fun, and a lot of you here are 5-minute traders and 15-minute traders and 20-minute traders. I prefer my 4-hour swing trading. It's easier for me and slower, and I can just place a position, walk away, and leave it. But a lot of you guys are here on the 5-minute and 15-minute. Why are you trading the 5-minute and 15-minute? Because you're bored, because you need excitement, because you need things to happen quicker, because you need your profit now. That's a tricky one. The ones that need your profit now. If you need your profit now, you start forcing trades, you start making mistakes. That is a very, very, very tricky one, and one you have to be very careful of. I've seen it many a time. Guys that are trading in a hurry to make money in a hurry. What actually happens is you can end up losing money in a hurry just as quickly as you're trying to make money in a hurry. In fact, you'll end up losing more in a hurry than you're making because you're forcing it. What I would do is if I was trading on what I used to do, if I was trading on the 5-minute charts, let me be fair, I would normally trade the indexes, not the Forex. I would normally trade 3 indexes, the DAX, the S&P 500, sometimes the FTSE, sometimes the ALSI, depending how I feel And then those three indexes would give me my trades and on a 5-minute or even a 15-minute chart on the day. And then it was easier to pick my trades. But because I trade on the 4-hour, I trade a whole bunch of things. There's so much to trade in the market. It's, people ask me, how do you choose your trades? What do I trade? What should I trade? There's so much to trade. There's so much to trade these days. You can trade just about anything. And now they've thrown crypto into the pile. Did you know you can even actually trade? You can actually trade, for example, orange peels and orange juice and things like that. And not orange peels, but orange juice and that sort of thing. So, yeah, no, totally. It's quite crazy. FX trader, I agree with Rob. The 4-hour chart suits me just fine. The 4-hour chart is very much based on. I've had a few questions of, can you make money with a 4-hour chart? You can make money on the day chart. It's very relative to how much you want to trade and how much you want to risk. And what I'm showing you on here is this is a funded account that I use to demonstrate trading to you on my main accounts, and I have more than one. They're usually $100,000 accounts, which can make money. They can make a lot of money, and sometimes I look at some accounts and they do quite well. It's just a question of how much money you're prepared to invest. It's a question of how big you want to go on the trades and how big you want to risk on the trades. As long as you keep the risk the same, you can make the money. That's the important part. But if on small amounts, it's going to be difficult. You've got to have capital to get into business. And if you don't have the capital to get into business, then you don't have a business. Simple as that. Without capital, you've got no business. But, for those of you who don't have capital and you want funded accounts, I've left some links in the description of these funded accounts and whatnot. And you can get $100,000 funded accounts. I actually have one that I can't actually get up here on this chart. For some reason or another, it doesn't pick it up here on this particular software. But that's fine, it's there. But you can get them, and then you get profit sharing off that as well. And you can, get ahead on that. And if you make money on that, then you can always take that money and put it into your cash account and move on, sort of make money quicker and do a better job of it. But yeah, it's, how can I put it in a nice way? You can't trade with no money. There is, if you don't have capital, you're going to have a problem making money with trading, because there's nowhere in the world that you can take $1,000 and turn it into $100,000 in a year, or even 50,000. It's near impossible. I've seen the best not be able to do that. You might be able to take $10,000 and turn it into, maybe you'll be lucky and be able to turn it into 30 or 40,000 if you're really good and you're very lucky and you don't have any setbacks. But there's nowhere else you can do that except on the stock market. There's nowhere else you can do that, and unless you go to a casino and you're lucky there. Keeping that in mind, where are you actually going to go and do that? Where are you going to take small money and turn it into big money so easily? So there's a lot of people saying you can. Theoretically, they're right. But practically, when the fear steps in and every individual trader tries to do it, that's where the issue comes in. So the only way you can really make money in the market is with capital. Now, whether it be capital from a funded account, or whether it be your own capital, just don't use a credit card. That could get evil. Most people end up losing when they do that. Don't do that. Make sure it's your own capital, or a funded account. Funded account, you really don't stand to lose that much if you lose the account. So you're still in the game. So it's a cheaper way, to let's say if you want to learn your trade, it's a great way to do it because you've got real money at risk and not as much. And if you lose the account, it's quite annoying sort of thing. You want to keep it and you want to try and make profit off it and so on and so on and so on. Whereas if you've got your real money in the account, in your cash account, and when you lose $10,000, then you have to understand that you just lost $10,000. There's no way around that. So you've got to get used to that as well. But yeah, if you've got capital, you can make money. If you don't have capital, there is a good chance you're going to struggle. That's just how the world works. And there's nothing any of us can do to change that. FX trader, playing with demo accounts, but finally have a strategy for a 4-hour chart that I like. What I normally say, FX trader, which is good for traders these days, because you see, when I started, we didn't even have demo accounts. We just had to put our money in and learn the hard way, which was, it was awful. But we learned. But these days, it's so much nicer for traders, I have to say, because you can do your learning whichever way you do it. Maybe you watch Rob and you come and join my live shows and you learn how to trade. Or maybe you've paid for a course and you've learned to trade on the demo there. And then use the demo for a while and learn how to trade on the demo, bearing in mind that the demo has no bearing on your psychology and fear, because it's just the demo. So effectively what you're doing with the demo is learning how to use the system, learning how to use the charts, and maybe learning how to apply the strategy. It also takes a little bit of the fear out because you start to understand how the markets move and how they work. So if you can do it for longer than a couple of weeks, that's great. But then these days, what I've figured out is you can actually take on a funded account before you take on a cash account, especially on leverage trading. So then if you take on a funded account, which costs you a lot less than putting all that money into your main cash account, then there is a little bit of exercise for your fear receptors and psychology, because you've risked some money and you've got some risk on the table, and you've got the, you want to make some money back from that account. So that becomes a higher risk factor. So you start to learn a little bit more about your psychology if you use a decent sized funded account for a couple of months. And then once you've got through that, and you've learned that your system now works and you can do something with it, then you can actually take some real hard-earned cash and invest it in a good old cash account, whether it be futures, CFDs, whatever the case, and start to make money there. And then just check how your fear receptors work there as well, because that lifts the bar slightly. Just remember that when you go to the real cash, there's definitely a bar lift, okay? Because that's 1-to-1. Then you're starting to lose that money, and you want to be making a profit. But once you've learned your trade, then you can start taking the real dosh and throwing it at the trades, and start making a success of it there. It's nice these days that people can go through that process. We definitely didn't have that opportunity. I mean, it was, if you've got some cash, that's all you do. There was no demos. I mean, come on, the only way you could demo the market was to sit with your chart of paper and try and read the papers on a daily basis and see, if I had taken that trade, what would it have done, and that sort of thing. That was the only demo that we had. There was no stuff like this where you could actually buy and sell and see how it works out. It's nice these days that you can actually do that. It's a good thing for traders. It's really good. And it's a good opportunity, if you've got the opportunity to, like I say, put the funded accounts or the prop firms in between the demo, the prop firm, and then your cash account. It actually works quite well. And you can learn a lot from these funded accounts. I'm actually quite impressed, because you can learn how to manage your risk and, all the rules and regulations. And if you follow that and you apply it to your cash accounts, you're actually going to keep your cash accounts alive. So it's good to see, just remember, if you are winning on demos, and you're doing well, if you are on demos, just bear in mind that it is much easier on a demo. Okay. Just excuse me a second, guys. I do need to answer this message on my phone. Really important message, this. Wow. Yeah. Yeah, I'm just going to answer this. Really important, yeah. I'm not going to tell you what it's about, but yeah, it's an important message. Okay, perfect. Just, forward it. That was good. Perfect. There you go. Sorry, guys, I had to do that. It's really, really important that I had to answer that. Sometimes these things come up in life, and it comes up during the live show. Then sometimes you got to do these things, man. While I was doing that, a couple of people left the chat. How could you leave, guys? Come on. Sometimes these messages are important. I had a really big problem with a medical aid, and this guy's sorting it out. You know, you take insurance for things, and then they always find a way to try not to pay for it. How's it, Elaine? Good to see you, man. Always lovely to see Elaine. She's been around for a long time, just like Shane, and a couple of other guys here as well. But it's lovely to have you all on board. All the names are here. Absolutely marvelous. So charts cannot predict the market. There's a big thing that I've been saying. Just remember, guys, nothing I say here constitutes financial advice. I'm not giving you advice. I'm just here to help you along, give you the information that you need to take those trades. That's all. Nothing else. And hopefully it'll see you along the way. What's happening here with Bitcoin? Because I see that it doesn't want to get past that little high there. It's really stuck below that at the moment. It's come down, fallen through, gone in to take the money, it's come back up, and it keeps on knocking its head against that resistance. That resistance appears to be really strong. There must be a lot of money lying at that exact level, 113.5, eh? Really, really interesting that. I wouldn't have expected that from Bitcoin. I would have expected that to be a lot more, pushed through quite a lot quicker. Yeah, that's actually quite insane. I'm actually hoping that oil will actually find its feet now. I've never seen oil sit like this below the 670 for such a long period of time. It's really, really hanging around and not wanting to go. It's been sitting at these lower levels for far too long. It's time for it to spring to the upside. I actually think that Dixie forming that double bottom is going to cause a bit of a headache somewhere here in the market. It could be caused by this S&P 500, which is hitting a lid level here, hitting the top, and yeah, that could be an issue. Okay. A documentary about SA economy's decline over the last 20 years. It was pretty scary. Some companies are leaving the country. FX, that documentary you saw over the last 20 years, let me tell you something, it's over the last 30 years, not 20 years, 30 years. 30 years of decline. Now, I can only blame the government that's in charge. I have to. they like to blame the previous systems that were in place and all the rest of it, and they always blame the what did they call the British that came here, or whatever the case? I don't know. But anyway, there's always someone else to blame, but you've only got yourself to blame at the end of the day. If your country's declining while you're in charge, you can't blame the previous systems for what's happened now. You've had 30 years, more than 30 years, to resolve these situations, and the country's decline has been horrific. Now, one of the biggest problems I see in our country, besides corruption, okay, which is big, where people were doing sideline deals to make money and stuff, having friends and family in the government and all the rest of it. Besides all that, okay, one of the biggest problems I see in our country is the racial issue, and that is, people can't get a job based on their demographic or based on who they are, based on they've put into law an economic empowerment system which benefits the majority in the country. And that causes a lot of issues for companies. So those companies start to pull out of the country. They start to disappear, because how can you run a company based on a demographic? You need to run a company based on the best qualified person that's working for that company. I don't want to get too deep into politics here, because it could insult or how can I put it? Everybody's got their own point of view. So I don't want anybody to be put down or, be on the opposite side of this argument, but or start an argument with anyone or anything to that effect, because I'm a very liberal, open person. But, but when I look at the facts, that's what I always look at. I look at facts. I don't look at assumptions or hearsay or anything to that effect. I just look at what's happening around me. And in our country, we are suffering now with, they'll tell you there's a 15% unemployment, a 10% unemployment. And that alone in any other country would be sacrilege. It would be just, disastrous. A 5% in any other country of unemployment is disastrous. We're sitting with more than 60% unemployment in this country. This country is sitting with an insane unemployment figure. And then it still has a system in place which weights towards a demographic that holds the majority of the country. Those people get the jobs before anyone else. In other words, if 3 people are sitting in a job interview and all 3 have the same qualifications and the one has the demographic that's required, that person gets the job, which is incredibly unfair. And that's what Trump was talking about recently when our government went over there to chat to them, and they said, this has got to stop. You can't do this. You're going back to the old apartheid days, effectively, and the way things were run then. When they said it would never happen again, it really is happening again, just on a different demographic. So I don't think the world can just get away from this. It just seems to be a constant problem and a constant issue. And what I hate the most is that the people in the middle are the ones that suffer. You've got all these people on the far left and all these people on the far right of any government with their beliefs. And then you've got all of us in the middle, which is the majority of the country, which just want to live our lives, enjoy our lives, and be able to get employment or not, and go to school and all the rest of it. And you can't, because someone in charge is doing their thing. Like just putting his 20 cents worth in because of all the politics on the left or whatever the case, or all the politics on the right. These are the guys that are always causing trouble. And it's the minority of the country that always causes a problem for the rest of us, which are the majority of the country. And it's kind of, like I said, I don't want to go too deep into politics, but FX is quite right. So much has gone wrong for South Africa with its inflation. Our railway, gone. They're trying to bring it back now. They're trying so hard to save it, but so much trouble. South African Airways went bankrupt 3 times, I think, and they're still trying to keep it afloat somehow or another. Our electricity supplier was in what we called load shedding for many years, where you wouldn't have power for a few hours a day, half the day. That's now, they've got the power running again, and that was all due to corruption and whatnot. This was a company we call our electricity supplier Eskom. They used to supply electricity to most of Africa, all the way north. They were renowned for being the biggest electricity supplier probably in the world. They would supply all the way through Africa, and they would buy electricity from us. And then suddenly, about 15 years ago, we couldn't even supply ourselves. We got to the point where we couldn't even supply enough electricity to our own country. And the excuse was, but now we're supplying to more people. No. Rubbish. The infrastructure is in place, and it just got destroyed again. So that is a problem. And then I look at all the municipalities around the country, and I must say, in the Cape, it's perfect. The roads are fixed, the robots are the traffic lights, we call the robots. Little robots, well, no, it's traffic lights. They're all working, the systems are working, things are in place. Most everything is pretty sorted out. The rubbish is picked up. It's a clean city. So the Cape is well looked after. But if you go north of that, there's a whole bunch of little cities and big cities, and even the capital city is falling apart. Pretoria, what was the capital city, is now falling to pieces. There's now suddenly 3 capital cities in a tiny country. It's insane. But, okay. But at the end of the day, all of those cities, you drive through them, and there used to be tar roads with curbs and parking bays and painted lines in these streets. Now you drive into those towns, and the roads are gone. It's just, the potholes got so big that the roads have become dirt roads. How does that happen? It's absolutely terrible. So what's needed is change. And, a fact of the matter is, in general, around the world, if a government runs for around 40 years, uncontested, there's normally some form of huge change, because things generally go pear-shaped. There's normally some form of huge change that comes around, and it's normally unexpected, the kind of change that comes around, because people are normally quite sick and tired of everything, and the government gets changed. So anyway, I've gone way off track here. I probably shouldn't have, and I apologize to anyone that I may have insulted with my political chirp, but sometimes you just have to talk about it. And it does hurt, because we live here, it's our home, it's our country, and somebody out there is destroying it. And it's not right. It's not right. It's a beautiful country with beautiful people, and it should be run correctly, because it has been run before and it can be done again. There's no necessity for it to be in the position that it's in. It should be doing much, much better. And companies shouldn't be leaving us and running away. They really shouldn't. They should be fighting to come here and be here and be part of it. It's a beautiful place. Yet they're leaving, and that is questionable as well. Sir Lancelot. Sir Lancelot, euro, US dollar. You might be right on the long. You might be right on the long. You'll notice when I said we'll go short, that I did say, if you watched the video, and I always say watch the video for context. I'll call it short, and then I'll talk to you in the video, and I'll tell you why. And what I did mention clearly is only go short on the euro US dollar if it breaks below that line, which was the resistance. You see what's the resistance, hit there, and then it broke through, went up. Came back to retest it, failed, broke down, broke through the support. It's come back up to retest the support. Now my call is, it's retested the support, red candle going down. That could be short, but just to be on the safe side, let it get below the old resistance and give us a red candle below that, then we've got the short. What it's done, instead of that, is it's created a green candle going back up. So no short at the moment, we're waiting. But if it breaks above that support line again, it starts going back to the upside again, then we've got the long trade going up, and we have to go the other way. So always look out for my context on these calls, okay? When I say, look, if I look at this and I say, oh, I'm looking at a short, it's because my immediate reaction is we're looking at a short because it's gone back up, retested, given me a red candle, so I'm looking at a short. But then on the context, I'm looking at, well, you can't just go short here. You've got to wait for it to get below that line before you really want to go short here. And that's why I put that at that point. I wanted to make sure that we get the candle below that line before we take that short. So at the moment, Sir Lancelot, you might still be correct. You might still be going long. If it breaks above that line, you're kind of in no man's land at the moment. Whichever way you've traded it, you're kind of in no man's land at the moment. So. Oh, Sir Lancelot, you didn't watch a trade of the day, man. No, but I always put it in context. You see, I might just be careful because I might just call something. And you got to remember, if I call something, I could be looking at it on both ways, just preferring one specific direction in my call. And there's more context to it, obviously. That's why I always say, don't just trade what I trade. Also look at, learn for yourself and work out your own systems and things as to why you want to take trades and why you would take a trade or whatever the case. So you guys have both done exactly what I would expect you to do, and that is choose your own way. And that's perfect. Shane long, Sir Lancelot long. Exactly, that's what a market is made of. You guys have made your decision to go long based on whatever situation, and I made my decision that I might go short based on decisions, and that's what makes a market. And you're perfectly correct. We're all right at the end of the day. Not everybody can go the same way. And well, look, from my perspective, I would look at this and say, well, the reason you've gone long, it makes sense. But I've just put an extra sort of problem in the way here that puts it kind of in no man's land. But I can see why you guys would be going around. The only problem I see for you guys is that the candle hasn't closed today. Maybe it has on a lower time frame, because I'm thinking Shane here. Unless you took the trade before this, in which case a long trade would have been possible, but it was below that trend support, which it gives you a problem as well. I understand what you guys are doing, but by the same token, I've got my own little point of view here. Short on the DAX. That's the reason I put my videos out, so lunch, is so that people can maybe take some information from me and apply it to their own way of working. And that's how you become most comfortable trading, because you'll find your happy groove. You'll find that way you like to work, and then you work that way. And no two traders are the same. A lot of people think that this is a robotic thing. It's not. No two traders can trade the same, and everybody's got their own way of thinking and their own way of trading. It's so important that people understand that. Short on the DAX. I'm just looking at the DAX, Shane, and you're probably short because of a 5-minute chart. Or you're short for the 4-hour chart, because I'm looking at the 4-hour. And while I see your point, it's bounced off the support being over here, and it's gone to the upside quite nicely on the 4-hour. Not much stopping it, at the moment. It's broken past the prior high. So that's also pretty strong, although it's come back with a bit of a hammer candle. The sellers have come back in. It did break past that prior high, and it looks like it wants to go up. So, yeah, we shall see. We'll see what it wants to do, which way it goes, and how it goes, if it goes. So on the 4-hour chart, that's one thing Shane always says, is always do the opposite to Shane. So, yeah, that's what the markets are made of. Always do the opposite to every other trader, and maybe you'll make some money. No, I'm struggling to see the short on the DAX at the moment, but I understand where you're coming from. I mean, in all fairness, I mean, if I look at this US 500, if I just look at it and I see it going up, I can't trade against it because it is DAX. I mean, sorry, it is the S&P 500. It's bullish. It's going up. It's going up without anything stopping it. There's nothing stopping this thing from going up. But if I was a betting man, I'd be like, maybe I should bet against this at this point. And that's the supermarket mentality. You know, nothing can ever be too expensive. Like I said, I just got a feeling that people are just getting sucked into buying all the time, and it can just never go wrong. And I think it is going to go wrong somewhere, sometime soon. There's so much going on in the background that people are ignoring, just ignoring flat. Nobody's even looking at what's going on in the background. That doesn't even exist anymore. War in Ukraine, never. They don't even know about it. War in Israel, what war? Nah, there's nothing going on there, is there? Everything's fine in the world. Everything's hunky-dory. Everything's perfect. Donald Trump throwing tariffs at everyone. Nah, doesn't matter. That's fine. It's okay. Let them carry on. A bit concerning. You know, that they're just throwing caution to the wind here and buying. And I can see a whole load of reasons for things to fall apart. There's a whole load of reasons out there for things to fall apart. Now, I don't hang my hat on fundamentals, but big fundamentals like that sit in the back of my mind. And they say to me, keep your eye on it. Keep your eye on it. Because it's really easy for everyone to be sitting out there saying everything's great when maybe it isn't. Maybe it's not so great. But trade what you see, stay with what you see for now. Sir Lancelot's aiming for the long on the DAX, and I think the long on the DAX provides more. Yeah, I would look more towards the long than the short here, because it's already broken past that prior high. Looks like it wants to go. Okay, that looks yeah, looks fair. Okay. Great stuff. High probability. Shane's wrong on that one. There is a possibility that you might be wrong on that one. That depends how the day goes. We've got the long trade on the United States dollar Canadian. It's not on this account, but okay, it doesn't matter. United States dollar Canadian dollar long trade is on. On the wrong account for that one, but it's okay. That one's doing okay, but I see there's a bit of red coming down here. And so that might, but nothing goes up in just, look at every single move, and you'll see it goes up, and then there's red, and there's green, green, red, 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 green, red, and then green, then red, and then green, then red, and then green, red. It always gives you a little bit of downside on the way up and a bit of upside on the way down. So don't expect it to just go green all the way to the top. You're going to get the odd red candle in between. That's just that's the way of the market. That's how markets work, guys. You know, they can't just be straight up and off you go. It doesn't work like that. Okay. That's not how it goes. if you pick your levels, always look for the stop loss first. You know, one-click trading shouldn't be your thing unless you know exactly what you're trading. Unless you know exactly what you're trading. You know, you'll notice I leave one-click trading off. Many years ago, I used to do one-click trading a lot because I would just trade contract. But that was before my stop-loss strategy came along. And nowadays, I always work out my trade. Always work out my loss first. Always check where your stop-loss is going to be. Work out the size of your trade according to that stop-loss. You know, people are scared to have trades that are less than a contract size or a lot size. You don't have to be scared of that. You don't have to worry. No one's watching you. This is an insane feeling in the market that someone's watching what you're doing and they're going to go and tell on you. They're going to go and say, oh, do you know what? Rob's trading half contract sizes. Ooh. No one cares. No one cares. No one's hunting out your stop loss. As I've told you before, your stop loss is a for sale sign. You put it out there. You said this is for sale. So someone's going to come along and buy it. Simple, really. Trader Solar, hi there. Euro US dollar is above the 23.6 monthly target. Euro US dollar. Are you looking at the monthly? You know, where you're taking the fib from, down the bottom, or, you know, if I look at this, I'm trading it in this level. So if I was to, I don't trade with fib. Shane trades with fib. But I'll look at that. What have I got? Yeah, even on that, it's on a 38. If I was going to buy it, I'd buy it at 117. So nothing there. On the longer one, let's just see if there's a longer one. On the longer one from the bottom to the top. Let's just see what we got there. And that's the trouble with firm, you know, where you're drawing it from. And then it's on the 23, so that's obviously where you're taking it from. Yeah. And that puts your buy at around 116, so it's going to come back down. Yeah, I don't know. The short call is there. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. I wasn't looking at it from a fib perspective, but, you know, if you want to look at it from a fib perspective, you can. Totally up to you. Like I said, any system you want to use that works for you, use it. I can't be using every system under the sun. I've used them all before, and I know how they work, but I can't be trading against myself. That's the problem. That's why I keep it simple and I just use the price action. And if it looks like a trade, I'll take it and then I manage it, and that's it. End of story. You know, last week I did do the old, on the US 500, I did do the old RSI. You guys all saw that. This is the one indicator, my one go-to indicator, and that's the RSI. Oh, look at that. And you see, here's the thing. I haven't looked at the RSI since we looked at the RSI together. And when we looked at the RSI together, it was up there. Insanely overbought, isn't it? Insanely overbought. And then what I did was I took a trend line and I drew it through here. And there it was. It broke through. Okay, so it broke through that level coming to the downside. But now it's faltering and going along the side here. But what I'm seeing here, guys, is overbought again, way above, overbought again, way above. So for me, this looks more like a sell than a buy. But the trouble with the RSI, if you're only trading with the RSI, a lot of institutional traders do only trade with the RSI. But what you've got to look at with the RSI is this can keep you in a trade for a really long time. So for example, you would have said, let's go short there, okay? But look what it's done since there. It sat in the trade from there to there, and it dropped. It went from 6608 to 67, which is 100 points up. So it's gone up 100 points, and the RSI's just stuck around here and gone sideways after telling you that you should possibly go short. So it can stay in this level for a really, really long time. And this is why I don't use indicators to trade, because that's what they do to you. Doesn't matter which indicator, that's what they do to you. So I'll only use an RSI as confluence for my trade. It'll say to me, do you know what? I'll be looking at it and thinking, should I go short here or not? You know, and maybe there'll be some kind of breakthrough here or something telling me that I should. Then I'll take an RSI, open it up and say, look at that. That's really overbought. Looks like a good short. And then I'll take it based on confirmation from that. That's what I'll use it for. I'll use it for confirmation. Some people will use it for divergence trading. Great stuff. If there's divergence, there's very seldom any divergence that can give you a good trade. But as I look at this trade at the moment, if I just take this picture without the RSI and I look at this chart, there's no way I'm going short. No way. I'm looking at this and going, this is just going up, man. This is just like it's hit all-time highs. For what purpose would I even consider going short on this? It's insane. What I would do is consider looking at going short if it breaks below this level here, below that prior low. Then I'll look at it and say, well, maybe if I looked at an RSI at that point, I might consider going short. Or I might consider going short if it gets all the way to the top here and it like, sort of hits there and gives me a red candle going down. Then I might look at it and say, well, maybe there's a possibility that it'll correct back down to this lower support level, giving me a short trade there. But would I short at this point? Probably not. Probably should, but I won't, because it's telling me to go long. It's telling me this thing's going all the way up and it's not stopping. So I don't want to take a short there. There's some money lying at this level, 6,600 or something like that, so it might want to come back and take it. But even with the RSI as overbought as it is, you can see the last time it was overbought, it ran 100 points from there to there. It keeps you in the market, and you're not winning on that trade. So be very careful of indicators. I'll have a look now, Sir Lunchalant, on the HK50. I want to jump 225 if it breaks the level. NVIDIA shaked the game yesterday. He's 47,190. Chador, the NVIDIA, I love it because I have NVIDIA as my long-term forever trade. And yeah, I just love it. It just keeps going up. But it's one of my investments. So, you know, disclaimer from me, I just love it when NVIDIA keeps going up. I can't argue with that. It's great. It's absolutely great. So yeah, marvelous. Who am I to argue? Hang on, can I open something else up here? Boom. Just checking something else. Yeah. See. HK. I'm just looking on my other chart. You can't see this, unfortunately. This is one of my bigger accounts, HK. You are long. No, you are. It looks like it's running out of steam. Gone long, nice bullish run. It's creating a bit of a flag pattern. If I look at it, it's got the possibility of bouncing to the upside. hit the support, taking some money. Yeah, I think you'll be okay with that HK. Should be fine. It looks like it wants to bounce up. Looks good. Okay, I'm just going to close that. I just took that on another chart. I don't know if I can get it on this chart or not. Let me just see. I have a search function here. Huh. Search for tool function. Huh. Don't know my platform. Can you believe it? Oh no. I just had a look on the other side. It's fine. Actually see on this platform. Huh. I'll put my in here. Oh, watch this. Right, I had a look on my other charts. It's fine. Okay. Sound isn't clear. That's interesting. I'm going to have to look at the sound settings after the show. Sorry, I can't do that now, can I? I don't know why the sound wouldn't be clear. That's quite interesting. Are you all struggling with the sound today? Is everyone struggling with the sound today? Is the sound really bad today? Because then I must really, really have a look at the sound settings and see what is going on and see what the problem is. Okay, I like to buy. Sounds okay for Henny, so Henny can hear me. I don't have earphones on, so I can't really hear from my side. Shane says the sound is okay. It's different than usual. Okay, no issues here. Okay, so the sound is a bit different. Fine there, it will. Okay. You know, sound is one of the most difficult things to sort out. I can tell you, it drives me completely insane. It's actually more difficult than it sounds like I have a cold. Okay, Arthur, what I'll do, I'm sorry, Arthur, I'll have a look at it after the show. It's very difficult for me to set it up while I'm in the show. I do struggle with things like that, and I've probably made some stupid, ridiculous adjustment somewhere that's causing a problem. And no, I don't have a cold. I do sound bad, but I don't have a cold. But it's very possible that I've made some stupid, silly mistake with an adjustment somewhere on the platform. I'll have to have a look at it and see what it is and what could have caused it. Sorry, excuse me, I just made it worse with a cough. Perhaps if I put the mic a little bit further away, maybe that'll help you. I don't know. Try that. See if the mic being further away will help you at all. Maybe I'm too close to the mic. Yeah. Okay, most people seem to be able to hear me fine, but I will have a look at it later and just see if there's anything wrong. Just check it out. That does worry me that the sound is not good, because, you know, that's always an issue. And if there's bad sound, I mean, you don't want to be listening to me, do you? That's never good. But it could just be me, and I always sound like I've got a cold. I know that. often sound quite bad. I've just pushed the mic away a little bit, so maybe that'll help. Maybe it'll just give a bit more space, a bit more opening, a bit more clarity. You might just pick up a bit more echo in the room or something, but is that better? Okay, so maybe the mic is too close to me, and that happens because it's adjustable, so it moves around. So maybe it was just too close. So hopefully that's better. Okay, there you go, Arthur. Okay, so that'll help for now. There's the adjustment. Huge technical adjustment by Rob. Move the mic away. Best adjustment ever, man. Yeah, wow. Okay, at least I found something that will help. Yeah, no, it's... I tell you what, I love making videos. I really do. And it's great fun. And that's why I got into it. And it keeps me busy as well. Considering trading so boring. But yeah, I'm mastering things like getting volume right and sound and picture and stuff like that is just wow. It's a completely, it's almost like having a new trade, man. So it's like having a new type of work. So I do try and figure it out and keep it as nice as possible for you guys and make it as good as possible so that it's not terrible. But yeah, if you tell me, it's great because it helps for me to know that, Rob, you look like an idiot, do this and that, and that really helps because it helps me adjust so that you guys can have a better experience on the shows and as well as on the videos themselves. I do find it quite interesting. But yeah, I'm no guru at YouTube, that's for sure. And I'm learning as I go along. All things, in all fairness, I mean, we're just a year and a half in on this. If you look at the age of the actual channel, I think I opened it maybe 2 years ago or something, maybe a bit further than that. But I did nothing with it. I maybe made one video about Bitcoin because it was irritating me or something. And then suddenly I decided, and I got a bee in my bonnet, and I decided to tell you guys about trading, and there was something that made me do it. So I was getting annoyed with all the people telling you can make millions in the market. And I started doing it, it was about a year and a half ago, and then I just went for it because people, needed it and enjoyed it. So yeah, I've still got a lot to learn. I've still got a long way to go. I'm sure I'll catch up to all those gurus, those guys who know what they're doing, those YouTube guys who know everything about making a video. But yeah, to make videos on YouTube, you've actually got to become an editor. You've got to become a movie producer. You've got to become an actor. Here I am, the guy. You've got to become everything. It's quite crazy. You've got to look at picture and sound. You've got to become a sound engineer. Yeah, it's crazy. Sorry, I went off topic there. We're supposed to be talking about trading. Yes, I can understand that you're undecided about the UK 100 because, I would also be undecided about the UK 100 because here's the UK 100. Look at this thing, okay? And the issue you've got is the same issue I've got with the UK 100. I took the short when it came crashing down off the resistance, and we made the money down to this point, and then we put a stop loss in place. It went back up. It took it out in profit. So we made profit on it. Not a lot, but it was $100 or something, but it was a profit. And since then, it's been sort of milling along. And this is what I call in the middle, Cyril. It's just in the middle, and it's going nowhere, and it's not giving me a decent signal whatsoever. It's not saying to me it's going to go up or it's going to go down. But if I was to look at the overall picture, Shane, what I'm seeing is it's bullish, okay? It is bullish, and for a couple of good reasons. One is it has bounced to the upside. The other is it has broken that downward structure to the upside, very shallow, but it's broken it up. But also, there is a trend line along the bottom, which is generally to the upside, which is generally bullish. You see it's sort of moving along to the upside. So that is there. And the top is flat. I mean, that's a double top. It's flat. It's a resistance, but it's between the resistance and the support, and it's not really giving you much of a confluence. If you were to take your Fibonacci and draw it in here, then you would be looking at that scenario, which would mean that it needs to be at a 9,200 level to buy. It's kind of sitting above the 50. You know, is there any trade there? And it's bouncing off that 382. So even that's not really giving you much of a muchness. You could draw an RSI in here, and that's probably going to be in the middle as well. Let me just have a quick look, just for interest's sake. Because like I said, this thing, yeah, exactly as I thought. It's also pretty much in the middle, Cyril, going nowhere. But overall bullish. Why is it overall bullish on that as well? Because you can just take it and you can draw that in, and it's moved to the upside in all respects. Even if you take that and move it up to there, still moving to the upside. So it's overall bullish, and but it's in the middle, Cyril. I won't trade it. It's not a trade for me. Not a trade for me at the moment. I'd wait with it and just, I'd say leave it alone. Well, HT, but they don't know how to trade lol. Yeah. Well, actually, I see what your answer is. Yeah, I was talking about YouTubers. Yeah. What did someone say to me the other day? Rob, you should stick to trading. My YouTube will be just as good as my trading. Just give me 30 years. I don't know if I've got 30 years. Goodness me. Yeah. Give me time. I'll get it right. Yeah. No worries. Yeah, sure. Difficult one. Yeah, not everybody can be perfect in a day. You take on a job. You know, a lot of people think that trading, for example, is a perfect example of that, is people will walk into trading, I'm going to be a trader. And they somehow expect that they're going to be a trader in a week. You go on a 1 week course, or I don't know, maybe a 2 week course. Most of them are 1 week, I think. You go there in a nice little conference room in a hotel somewhere, and somebody talks about trading, and then you're going to be a trader. But you never think that if you want to become a doctor, that's 9 years of studying. If you want to go and become a lawyer, that's 7 years of studying. If you want to go and become an engineer, that's at least 5 years of studying. But to become a trader is a week. It's amazing. Absolutely amazing. It just doesn't work like that. I'd love to think that it was that simple and that easy, but most people do get into it, and then they do realize that it takes a couple of years to figure it out, and it takes a little bit of time to get around the nitty-gritties and sort it out. I mean, for example, I didn't start making YouTube videos and think I'm going to be successful at this in my first week. No ways. Not even in my first 2 years. No. I'm happy to understand that I'll just keep improving as I go along and make the videos as nice as possible for everyone. And I do have some personal targets that I want to try and make it look nice and all the rest of it. I've got enough things that I want to do with it. But yeah, people seem to think that they can do things in a week. Everybody does. I mean, it's the same as when you get into trading, and then everybody tells you, well, not everybody, but some of us tell you that trading, 30% of traders win and 70% of traders lose. And then everybody thinks that they're going to be in the top 30%. Everybody, absolutely everyone. It doesn't matter. It's my first day. I'm going to be in the top 30%. I'm going to make loads of money. I'm going to be the best trader in the world. And I appreciate that, because that's a good attitude to have. And that's obviously very positive and very good. But there's a bit of reality that has to set in as well. And you have to understand that that's not always going to happen. There's very, very often going to be a bit of a downside, a bit of a, oh, oops, that didn't work out side, sort of thing. So yeah, on that front, do be cautious. Yeah, do be cautious. Okay, great stuff. Yeah, the UK 100 in the middle, Cyril. United States dollar, euro, United States dollar. What have we got here? Are we getting anything yet? It's not giving us a trade. Not giving us a trade at all. It's giving us the green candle, so it's giving us a little bit of an annoying move here. Not much going on. How's my Brent crude oil doing? Because this one is really driving me insane, and it just doesn't seem to want to get ahead now. I've got to move this down because it has moved slightly. So one of my concerns is that it's going to come up here, retest, and go down. I really do need it to kind of go into profit now. Start making us some dosh. This Brent crude oil has been pretty sad. Let's say we've been in this trade forever. It's just not going anywhere. Just stuck at this level. Stop listening to Donald and start just doing what you're supposed to do, man. And this one as well. South African Rand is supposed to be like weak, but because the dollar's so weak, but yeah, that double bottom on the dollar is giving me a lot of confidence on that trade. I must say that gives me a lot of confidence on that trade. It's telling me there's a good possibility that trade's going to head on to the upside. The Aussie dollar CHF is looking bullish at the moment. Arthur, the Aussie dollar CHF. Let's go and have a look at the Aussie dollar CHF and see what we got. Arthur, are you in the trade on the Aussie dollar CHF? And okay, 4-hour chart, Aussie dollar CHF. Let me draw a couple of lines in without going to the day chart. We're just going to do this on the 4-hour chart. There's a top. Let's make that one green since it's on top. Let's draw a bottom line in. Make it red. Here's a bottom. Make that one red. Let's just see what we got here. There is a lower level than that. Obviously, we can draw another level all the way down the bottom here if we want to. But I'm not going to. I'll tell you what I am going to draw in, though. You guys know what I'm going to draw in. You guys just know what I'm going to draw in. There we go. For those of you who know how I trade, you know what you're watching for. And there it is. Can't get much simpler than that, to be fair. It's a really simple kind of setup here. So what we're looking at here is if it breaks through that trend resistance and goes to the upside, that'll be an insanely bullish trade. Perhaps one could wait for it to get past the prior high. If you really wanted it to, you could wait for it to break past that and go up. But I think if you just let it go through that level there, give you a green candle straight to the upside. Nice long trade. It does look like a decent long trade, but I think you just need to let it get, it's bounced to the upside, let it get through that level, and then you've got a bit more information on it. I like it. It looks decent. You're probably looking at a long trade from about, probably 52.42 and up. And the risk to reward is good as well. Yeah, looks okay. Looks like a nice long trade. Wonder how the New Zealand dollar is doing. That's a biggie that I haven't looked at for a while. Ooh. New Zealand dollar, US dollar. One of my old favorites. What I'm going to do, I'm going to bring this down. Let's just have a look here. Oh, there's a level. Okay. Interesting trade. This has really crashed down, hasn't it? Yeah, it's in that range. So there's a good chance at around these levels, you could get a nice long trade as well. So keep an eye out for that. That looks pretty decent as well. Keep an eye on that one. New Zealand dollar, United States dollar. This might start turning around. Things might start turning around with the dollar, interestingly enough. But this is quite a big move downwards. So Lancelot, the CHF tends to Yeah, it tends to keep going in one direction. Maybe that's why. You know, you need things to go up and down to make some money. Okay, also that trade looks decent, looks good. Yeah, I like this New Zealand dollar. I like the look of where it's going. You might get something out of that. That might be worthwhile. Then we had US dollar, Canadian dollar, still going up. Just keeping an eye on that. US dollar CHF, you see, there's the thing, Sir Lancelot. This thing just keeps going in one direction. If you just trade with a trend, you might do well on the CHF. Maybe try following the trend. It actually might make you some money. It's actually quite a trendy, trendy currency. Yeah. Trendy currency made of cheese and chocolate. Yeah. Cheese and chocolate currency. Looks like the DAX has turned and gone short. And I think it was Shane that said he was going short. Looks like it's turned and gone short. A lot of the sellers came back in. That candle's turned red. Interesting that. That said, what's the S&P doing? S&P is doing nothing. Absolutely nothing. Just sitting at the top there doing nothing. The UK 100, well, that's also turned short. Looks like it wants to go short. So turning to the downside. NASDAQ is just sitting at the top. Okay. Interesting stuff. Brent crude oil has moved into a profit again. It just keeps cycling between profit and loss. Now it's $3.90 in profit. Okay. Shane's only early days, yeah. It might just be like, you know, that time of the day. It's like, oh, I'll just open up now and I'll give you some hope and I'll move in the same direction as you traded in. And when you look away, I'm just going to go the other way. Yeah, if only we all had crystal balls and we could tell what's going to happen next. We could time the market. Wouldn't that be great? That would be the obvious answer to trading. And we need fortune tellers. We need a whole bunch of fortune tellers in the trading game telling us what's going to happen next. And, you know, play some cards, put some cards out and say, that one means you must buy and that one means you must sell. That will be the best way to go about it. You know, I had a question the other day, how do you choose the right resistance area? And there's so many ways to do it. But this United States dollar, Canadian dollar is one of my examples of, I go to the day chart and I take my resistance level off the day chart and my support level off the day chart. And then it gives me levels to work within. So I understand that that's my daily level. And then I come and I take 4-hour levels and I just look at my 4-hour levels. I don't want too many lines in, not too many lines at all. But if there's 3 touches, you've got a line, you've got a resistance, or you've got a trend resistance or a trend support. And what I normally like to do is I like to look for the range. If there's a range, sometimes there isn't, like on the S&P, it's straight up. You don't worry about the range then. But if there's a range, I look for that range, and then I look for the moves within the range. You know, like a break to the upside, downside within the range. Because range trading can give you a lot, and then you can combine range trading with counter trend trading, and that gives you your moves. So finding resistance levels and trend levels and things like that, very simple. Make sure that it's got 3 touches along the way. 3 touches along the way means you've got a trend, you've got a line. What you do have to be careful of, though, is drawing 5 million lines on your chart. Don't draw too many lines on your chart. Not good for you. You're going to get confused. There's going to be too much on your chart. So I keep it as simple as possible. If I put a daily level in, I know it's there. And then I'll just put 1 4-hour level in, just to give me that picture, and I can work within that picture. But don't have line after line after line, because if you take this, there's a whole bunch of levels in here that you could work with, level after level after level after level after level. But what you find is if you take the wider level, in most cases, the trade will work from that to that. And there'll be a bit of movement in between. But in general, the trade will work in that level. You can see it's working in that level. So you don't need to put all those middle levels in. Just use your eyes and a little bit of your mind and see for yourself that it's working in that bigger level. It's not working in between. So drawing all those lines in between are just going to confuse the issue, and you don't really need to do that. So what you're looking at is an overall picture of it's trading between those two lines. That's good enough. You don't need to put too much effort into drawing 1,500,000 lines on your chart. And then what I've got here on this one is a level here, but there's also a lower level on the day below that level, which if it moves into that, I know that I'm in between that level as well. On the upper side, I know that there's a bit of a gap to the day resistance, but I can work within that scenario as well. So choosing your resistance and support is not difficult. Scott asks, do you ever go to a lower time frame? I see a lot of 4-hour on your videos. I trade on 4-hour charts mainly because I'm lazy, I suppose. No, because I am a position swing trader. Okay, you guys call it swing trading. I call it position trading. I take a position, I place a position, and I operate my strategy on that position. And I can walk away and I can leave the charts and I can go and do other things like make YouTube videos or go to the beach or whatever the case, which is why I get so bored trading. I spend many of my days trading 5-minute charts, 15-minute charts, lower time frames, day trading, stuff like that. These days, I don't go to the lower time frames because I find it an insane waste of time in my case. In your case, maybe not. But in my case, I find myself sitting trading, watching charts move up and down. I find myself taking trades, and then I win a whole bunch of trades because it's 5-minute trading, so it's in and out, in and out, in and out, in and out. And you win 8 trades, and then the 9th trade wipes out the last 8 trades, and you're back to square one. It's so annoying and so demoralizing. And every single time that I trade with the 5 minutes and the 1 minutes and the 15 minutes, it always ends up being neither here nor there after a lot of work. So there's always that one that takes you out or whatever the case. Yes, you can win a lot. Yes, you can lose a lot. Yes, it keeps you busy. You see, the trouble with lower time frames, my opinion, is a lot of people with assumption will come in and say, I'm going to come in, I'm going to trade for 2 hours, I'm going to make $200 every day, and then I'm going to go to the beach and I'm going to relax. And what happens is, the assumption is, I'm going to come in and make $200. But what reality is, you come in and instead of making that $200 in that 2 hours, you lose $400 because that happens. And now you've got a decision to make. Do I carry on trading for the rest of the day and try and make that $400 back and then you lose $800? Or do I leave it and come back tomorrow, but then I'm $400 down on the next day when I should be making $200? So how much must I make tomorrow? This is where the issue comes in with that kind of trading. And it generally ends up becoming a pressure point. It becomes a hassle. And so no, I no longer bother with it. I have mentioned to Shane in that I might do a lower time frame show just for fun. Maybe we'll take a demo and we'll do it. We'll do a live show on the 5 minutes or something just for fun. But most of the people that follow the channel do swing trade and do 4-hour trading. But there are a lot of traders that do come and watch my videos and follow the chart because the strategy is the same no matter what. That trade 15-minute, 5-minute, 1-minute charts and that sort of thing. And there's no difference in the actual strategy. The only difference is in the way you look at your charts. That's all, or the way you hold your charts or hold your trades. That's the only difference. the strategy you have to separate from the charts, because charting is one thing, strategizing and having a business plan is something else completely. And that's what I always try and promote, is the business plan and the strategy. The actual charting, unimportant actually. The charting is just a way to manage your risk. It's just a way to manage your trade. That's all it is. It's not going to predict the future. It's not going to, win rates don't make you money. And charts, I mean, we don't have crystal balls, so we can't predict the future. But if you want to trade on lower time frames, it's not going to be much different. It's just going to be, you have to sit and watch your charts. You have to sit and take the trades. You have to sit and look after your trades, and so on and so on. So I don't bother anymore. And you'll find most older traders like myself, not age-wise, but people that have been in the market for a long time, tend to gravitate away from the lower time frames to the higher time frames. And what you can do to make the money on the higher, I know a lot of people trade on the lower time frames because of the, I don't want to use this word, but maybe because of the desperation or need to make more money quickly. So you get onto the lower time frames. But if you want to do it on the bigger time frames, you can have wider spreads. You can have wider stop losses. You can have bigger amounts. You know, you can risk that much more on one trade because you've got that much of a more movement, and you can leave the trade, you can walk away, come back, and you can see if the trade worked out. So that's why I prefer the 4 hour. I like the 4 hour. I spend a long time trading on the 1 hour as well, but I found myself spending too much time on the charts there as well. So the 4 hour just kind of worked for me. Just kind of worked out for me in the end. Yeah. Yeah, you know, if you take the stress into account of sitting watching charts all day that are going against you, you just have to look at my gray hair. I've been doing this for 33 years, but look, in all fairness, I'm joking with you because I have spent most of my life not having to get up early in the morning and go to work and go to an office or go to a job or whatever the case. There's been a couple of times where I was stupid enough to start businesses, which were very successful, but kept me insanely busy. But yeah, other than that, I've had a good time. So even amongst all that stress, there's been a lot of good. And so I joke about my gray hair. This is probably more genetic than anything else. Life is good as a trader and as a businessman or an entrepreneur. You get to do your own thing. And how many people can say that? You can get up in the morning, go and do what you need to do. So yeah, no, that is a big one. And if you look at life from that perspective, the stresses and strains of trading are not that bad. But yes, it can be very, very stressful on the lower time frames. I don't ask, do I trade on pocket option? No, I don't. That's a shame. Yeah, that's how your future's going to look like, gents. Old. Yeah, but no. Look, there's a couple of guys out there that are insanely successful at lower time frame trading, and if you get the groove right, and you get into the right groove, and you know what you're doing, and you do it right, and you follow the rules, then you can make a lot of money on short-term trading quickly. Bearing in mind you can also lose it quickly, but if you do the right thing and you follow it correctly and you get into the right groove, you do the right research, you have the right instruments that you trade on, then you can do quite well out of short-term trading. There are a few traders out there who do. But keep in mind, and this is really important, that on 5-minute trading, they did some research. They did a test where they put 100 traders in a room and gave them 5-minute charts to trade on. and these were experienced, and in some cases pro traders, 99% of them lost. Now that is an interesting statistic because these are people that know how to trade. Only 1% won. So that gives me a little bit of a worry when it comes to the lower time frames, in that sense that so few people can actually achieve by it. But you've got to put this in perspective. I mean, this is over a limited time period. And if you take it over a longer time period, some people might be more successful than others. That statistic might change. My question is how much will it change? How big a difference would there be? Because if you're talking about 1% and you're talking about one person winning in 100, will it just change to 5? Will it change to 10? It's not going to get much better, is it? So that question does stick in my mind as to very few people have the mindset to be able to trade on really fast time frames and be successful. Now, I think that if you apply the strategy correctly, and if you are able to apply the strategy rather than the system, that you can be successful with that 5-minute time frame trading, but you have to apply the strategy, and you have to apply the strategy properly. What I found difficult with 5-minute trading is if I'm taking a trade on my strategy, it takes me a few moments for my brain to I'm not the genius or anything like that. I'm just a normal dude. And I have to work out what my stop loss is. And that takes me a couple of seconds. And while that's happening on a 5-minute chart, the price has already gone to the profit level and I've missed the trade completely. So that's where I found a little bit of difficulty on the faster time frames, is applying my strategy in good time. That's where you really need the one-click trading. So what I would say on the 5-minute charts is it's actually better. What I used to do is pick 3 indexes, work off those 3 indexes, and then I would know exactly how many contracts I would be trading that day on any particular trade, and I would just have one-click trading on it. And then I would know exactly what I'm trading and where my stop loss is going to be and how I'm going to work it and all the rest of it. Then you can apply the strategy, and then you're only applying it to those 3 particular products. That will work for you, but that's what you have to do on the faster time frames. If you're trading everything, it becomes difficult, because it becomes more difficult to work out those losses and wins and things like that. Where you can trade 5-minute time frames and 10-minute time frames and such on an easier basis is if you're trading on a system that is a little bit slower. In other words, like an Ichimoku or a moving average crossover system or something like that, because then you can basically take the trades based on that sort of strategy or whatever. But yeah, if you're trading on price action, it becomes a little bit difficult to get into your trades on time correctly at the right place, because you've only got, with 4-hour trading, you've got 100 points to put your stop loss on, and with 5-minute trading, you might have 5 points, 7 points, 10 points to put your stop loss on, and by the time you put your stop loss on, it's already moved 2 or 3, and then you're in the trade. So you have to do one-click trading on that. Okay. Trader's Life, John Wick Rules. I like John Wick. It's amazing they never made any more movies like that. That was quite good. Yeah. Some of the good movies, they only make like 1 or 2, and then the total rubbish, they make like 7. But in some cases not. I remember that when Rocky came out, and the Sylvester Stallone boxing movie, and the first 2 movies or 3 movies were good. And then we were joking we're going to have Rocky 15 or something, an old man in the boxing ring or something. Insane. They go overboard sometimes as well. Remember the movie Terminator? How many of those did they have? About 52 movies or something, You only needed 2 or 3. So maybe it's good that they didn't make 52 John Wick movies, just the 2. That's crazy. I'm just going to reload this and just see where we stand. The server is a bit slow on the other side. So look. It's better to see. Oh my goodness, the oil's $10.50 up now. Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. Reduces my loss a bit because the South African Rand is still down. And I haven't taken the United States dollar-euro trade, which is now, by the way, starting to move down. Ha ha ha! Look at that, starting to move down. Ha ha! Keep an eye on that, guys. I see I'm having a laugh here because I think it's gonna, yeah, you know, it might go the other way, and then you guys are all, and the last laugh will be on me, won't it? Yeah, I'll be the one sitting there going, oh, look at that. But yeah, okay. That's fine. And then this one, I do have this trade on, by the way, so I need to keep one eye on it. That's why I keep putting it back on here so I can keep one eye on it. But I don't have it on here, but I've got it on elsewhere. So I've got a long trade on this, and it's making me money in a kind of different amount to hundreds. And then I want that one going against me. So that one is a bit of a sweat. Yeah, keep an eye on that. Okay. Gold. Gold, geez, just bouncing up, eh? Look at that one. Lovely, lovely. Okay. For those of you who called long on gold, well done. Good one. This US 500. Yo, what are you doing? What are you going to do? Look at those tiny little candles. They're tiny. They're like little midget candles, man. What's going on here? And there's just a top here. Yeah. I don't know. Will it go well into... I don't think it's got far to go. I wouldn't buy here because you're looking at a situation where it's probably going to go to the trend resistance and come down a bit and correct. I think we're going to get a bit of a correction rather than a buy. Yeah, not a huge correction though, because everyone seems so happy with life. I'd say maybe you're going to get a correction down to here. Maybe into that level. You might get that correction. Not saying you will, but you might. It's not big. So I'll buy at 66.50 with a view to going to 67.75. Not a bad idea, actually. Not a bad idea. Now that I think about it. Okay. Julian, how's it? Hi, Rob. Sometime since I said hi. As always on Snowballs, high value advice and content. Huge thanks again for keeping it real and sharing your experience and knowledge. Truly appreciate it. Thank you, Julian. Appreciate your kind comment. And it's lovely having you guys with me. As I always tell you guys, I get just as much from it as you do. I get to speak to you guys. I get to enjoy doing this, and I get to have you guys around, which is nice because trading is lonely, and it's nice to have a community. And that's what I'm building is a nice community and a bunch of guys and women around, ladies and gentlemen and everyone together. It's just great. It's just great. And it helps. It helps everyone. And it kind of helps with your psychology and all that. You know, I've gone through many years of trading, and there have been times when I had these groups together where we would trade together and talk to each other all the time. And often those guys fall off or disappear, or they don't trade anymore, or whatever the case, and you left on your own. That's nice to create a community. So I get something from it as well. Believe me, it's nice. It's nice to do it and be out there. Cheers, Henny. See you soon. Look, I'm going to be shutting down the video now soon anyway. It's pretty much on my side getting to that point. Everybody, and Blue Mango didn't come today, yeah. And I would like to see more ladies, but you see, the problem is, Shane, I'm an ugly old dude, okay? And I noticed that the pretty ladies on YouTube get hundreds of thousands of viewers, and I'm pretty sure that, I haven't looked, but I'm pretty sure that the better looking men get hundreds of thousands of viewers on YouTube as well. It's a natural course of events. And then you get an ugly old dude like me who puts YouTube videos out and everyone goes, oh no. And then I make the sound bad as well, which just tops it off, doesn't it? So yeah, no, but I would like to see some more ladies on the show. That would be great. That would be lovely. Blue Mango is here. You see, he's been hiding in the background. He's been behind the couch, peeking over, just in case we see him. Yeah, no. Yeah, that's great. Now, if you're busy on the charts, it's good. Means you're making money, hopefully. Lots of it. Loads of money piling in, coming out the sky. Just park the Ferrari in the garage and, that sort of thing. Yeah, absolutely, totally. But yeah, no, I am actually going to go now. I'm actually going to close the show down. It is time. It is time to shut it down. I will check on the sound and see what's going on there, or if there is a problem or whatever. I don't know. I don't think it's too bad. We'll check it out. Stud. That's an old word, eh? Yeah, no, Blue Mango, so I'll send you the email before Thursday. There you go. So you'll get your email. That'll be great. You guys can get together. And I'm over in Australia. The first person I'm looking up, besides a couple of my old mates, is Shane. Yeah, absolutely. Let's do that. That'll be fun. Right. Okay, guys, I'm going to be on my way. Going to hit the road and do my thing. And thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope the sound wasn't too bad. And yeah, join us on Thursday for the latest show, which is at 1400 GMT +2, as you guys know. And keep your feet on the ground, reach for the sky. Chat soon. Cheers. Ciao. And